Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and we're going to be going over all of the news that has been announced for Limbus Company. That's going to be the 2 new units that are coming out, and then they have implemented a whole host of changes, which I have gone through and highlighted for you just to make it a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and dig in. So, to everybody's surprise, not really, the 2 new units do tend to be focused on bleed, and there's a couple of things you need to know about these units, specifically new status effects that are going to be added to the game. The specific status effects are going to be Nails and Fanatic. So before we even get into their kits, Nails at the start of your turn gain 1 bleed and increase the bleed count by this effect's count. At the end of the turn, halve the count. And then Fanatic, raise skill final power by the effect's count against units with nails. So if a unit has nails, if you're able to pull off a unit's passive or his support passive for the party, he's immediately going to get more final power against the opponents. And we all know how powerful final power can be, especially when it comes to winning clashes. So 3-star Marisol right away out of the gate is a very powerful unit. He is going to be focused on mostly pierce attacks here. As you can see, he does have 1 striking attack. His primary attack is going to lower stagger threshold. Again, that's an okay ability. I'm more interested in inflicting nails, inflicting bind, and actually inflicting attack down as well. So his second ability, skill 2, is going to be very powerful. Followed up with skill 3, being able to inflict nails and heal HP by X damage dealt is going to be very powerful. He's going to be a unit that is going to slide right into the meta, particularly with his passive, if you can get its trigger, where when below a certain amount of HP, remove 1 negative status effect and gain Fanatic, attack power up, and protection. Very good. And his support passive, apply attack power up and protection to the ally with the lowest HP. If the ally is from N Corp, also apply Fanatic. And that's going to take us into the 2-star Rhodian that is going to be coming out, who is also an N Corp. Very powerful unit as well. I would actually say, if we are looking at tier lists, I bet you Rhodian is going to be elevated relatively high. You have bleed in her primary kit. You have on her secondary and third skill striking attacks, which are very powerful, particularly if you are trying to push into chapter 3. If you win a clash with skill 2, gain Fanatic next turn, inflict nails, inflict paralyze, skill 3, inflict bleed plus damage while this unit is Fanatic. Her passive ability, after an enemy is defeated, gain haste and damage up next turn. If this unit defeated an enemy, also gain Fanatic. So these 2 units are naturally designed to work together. They're going to naturally slide into that bleed meta that we do have right now, and they are going to be very powerful. Now, in terms of other changes that are going to be coming to the game, there is a lot. We do have some combat system changes, so skill slots can be added on the dashboard between waves. Staggered units no longer have 0 speed. When a status effect that occurs next turn is first applied, the added potency and count will now be maintained. So after the effect is applied additional time. So you can see here, they have a nice little graphic here where before the update, this is how it would display. It would be 0-1 would go to 1-1. And now it's going to be 1-1 is going to go to 1-1. So it's going to be just a little bit more clear when you are applying status ailments. I don't believe this means there's going to be any more damage. I think this is just a clarification for players so that they know kind of what they have applied in terms of status effects. There are a variety of UI changes. There's a couple of people who immediately when I talked about this in a previous video, they said they fixed an issue with support identities from the friend system, who were not selected to participate on the deployment screen could still join battle. So a couple people said it was a mistake that you could actually have a sixth character in your deployment. That's actually not true. They're just fixing basically UI issues. Added some keywords to highlight tooltip features, pressing and holding buttons for adding and subtracting a number on the interface. You can now check the details of another user's support identity. Voice lines will also play while idling in the basically main window. And then probably the bigger UI change that's coming is they fixed incorrect descriptions of new managers welcome extraction. This was a message that they sent out to all players, and basically the 3-star said it was a guaranteed 3-star, but it was a guaranteed identity or ego. So there is some type of compensation coming for us in the near future where we are going to be getting a 3-star identity, and they've already put out that notice. Now, there are a lot of bug fixes and improvements to go over here. One of the big things that they talk about is if you've had problems receiving gifts at all or items in your inventory, to please email them so that you can get this kind of put back into your account. And there's a lot of character changes, so it'll be interesting to see how the tier list and people's perceptions of units are changed because of this. And there are some nerfs as well. So fixed an issue with multiple clicks, not a big deal. Battle pass not being completed, not a big deal. But once we get into like the unit changes, in the future, I would love for this to be split into like unit changes as well as bug fixes, just because it's literally like a wall of text. If you guys look, like this could definitely be organized a little bit better. Fixed an issue where 4th pack rabbit Heathcliff combat passive rearing to graze gave charge potency instead of charge count. That's a buff for Heathcliff. Fixed an issue where the 3rd coin on blade lineage Salsu Yi Sang skill flank thrust always activated its effect regardless of whether it landed a critical hit. So that is going to be a nerf for Yi Sang. Fixed an issue where Zwei section 6 Sinclair's skill strong strike did not properly apply protection. That's a buff for Sinclair, for Zwei section 6 Sinclair. Fixed an issue with target discrimination for a couple of ego skills, so that's going to be Hexnail, which I believe Hexnail is the one that you can get from the Battle Pass. Pursuance, Ardor Blossom Star, 4th match Flame Rhodian. I can't even pronounce that. And Legend Main. And then fixed an issue where bursting tremor did not work properly. So we have talked about tremor, and there's honestly not a lot of units that do have tremor or burst tremor. So it's a good thing they fixed that early, because it's a pretty big deal. I think this was a pretty little surprising, is that there was an issue with the tooltip for poise. So I wonder if poise is actually going to be more important than it actually was. Whether it's going to be giving more crit or less crit, we'll kind of have to wait and see. Fixed an issue where attacking with insufficient ammo occasionally caused the game to freeze. Win rate prediction now takes base power and coin modifiers into account. I think this is really important. This is just really important if you are just spamming through, because those coin power modifiers are pretty important. Fixed an issue where status effects were not being properly removed. Fixed an issue where status effect parameters were sometimes being added incorrectly. Now, this specifically, I believe, might be talking about the issue with paralysis that they have talked about, or that the data miners have talked about. So we might be seeing paralysis getting fixed. It's weird though that they wouldn't just say paralysis, unless of course it's a problem with all status effects or with a bunch of the status effects. Fixed an issue where the potency or count of certain status effects could go beyond their set limits. When an unbreakable part's HP reaches 0 and it is staggered, it no longer recovers health and stagger threshold. So pretty good there for the abnormality battles. Fixed an issue where the same story scene, this definitely happened to me, would play twice while progressing to the next floor of the main story dungeon. Fixed an issue where the game would not progress on autoplay. Fixed where defense skill info wasn't being properly displayed. Woo, man, this is why they need to break it up, guys. I'm getting tired just reading this. Fixed an issue where the scroll bar for the text box and checks did not work. Fixed an issue where certain checks took effect on the wrong targets. That's pretty important. Fourth pack Rabbit Heathcliff, max uptight artwork was not being shown. Improvements for a number of frame drop issues. I think this is referring to, if you're playing on the Steam client, how egos would always like stutter the screen. I know other people have had that problem as well. I hope this fixes that, because it just like, it janks up my screen and I'm like, please don't crash on me. Fixed an issue with the conditional HP recovery passives of certain abnormalities. I'm gonna guess this is gonna be the section 2 dungeon, because that was a pretty wild ride there. So that's pretty much all the updates. I do believe it's coming tomorrow. The update is based on Korean time. So it's like Korean time Thursday, which I think will be like Wednesday, US time. We'll have to wait and see. I didn't do the time conversion. But most of the time they're like, I think they're like 10 hours ahead of it. Like, no, probably like 6 or 8 hours ahead of us, something like that. I'll have to go figure it out. But I hope you guys are excited for the update. Again, if you guys want me to keep making Limbus company videos, please post in the comments down below, share these videos out. I am trying to kind of become a Limbus company content creator. So thank you so much, everybody. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.